Welcome to the Postgame. This is the Michael Brooks Show. Welcome to all patrons, each and every one of you, best people on earth. With us is the whole crew. Thanks, everybody, for making this possible. And the great Matt Christman from Chapo Trap House. Matt, thanks so much for doing this.
Always happy to be here.
And joining us, we're going to be tuning back in. I think we did as good a job as we're going to be able to. All the places with resources cover this stuff horrifically. Yeah. And all the places with no resources have good analysis, but not much capacity to go on the ground, as it were.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just looked at my phone, and MSNBC is saying that Iran has unleashed a 50-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man on U.S. bases in Iraq.
Yeah, I bet. It's like this is Rachel Maddow. If Mira Tandon could connect this to Putin,
I'm sure she's already done it.
Yeah,
she's got the cork boards. Yeah. She's got the rust coal diagrams.
Yeah. The year is 1979. What happened? You're thinking the Islamic Revolution. I'm thinking of a small town in northern Ukraine.
Damn, that's
paper shuffle.
Eerie.
What'd you say?
That's eerie.
Yeah, I know.
Like
it's terrifying. I know. I don't want to bring us into a bad. There's enough negative things in the world without an accurate Rachel Maddow impression. And of course, joining us as he always does every week for his excellent segment, The Debunk, which is Ben Burgis, the author of Give Them an Argument. Logic for the Left. He's also professor of rhetoric and logic at Perimeter College at the Georgia State University system. He's the proprietor of a very smart and fun Patreon page. And really, we were just talking the other day, a academic victim of austerity. But just with an incredible work output, which we should all be impressed and awed by. Ben Burgis, thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you.
Ben, are you ready for your song?
Yeah, no talk. Let's just do it.
I want to go to mockery really badly.
I will.
So please go.
Okay.
You got to restrain me. Debunk all of it. Logical analysis. You're going to show us how to argue that. Go.
This is based on data from a bunch of different countries. There's abundant evidence that at this point that's bullshit. Breaking down these right-wing arguments and looking at how they're supposed to fit together.
Okay, break it down. Break it down. Break it down. Ben, you ready to go? You charged up?
Absolutely.
All right, so what are we debunking today, and does it involve New York's resurgent bed bug crisis?
It does, but, if you only know Brett Stevens because you've heard about him for his insane reaction to being called a bed bug by a professor at a small liberal arts college with 20 Twitter followers, or his more recent thoughts about race science and the Jewish mind, then, that might be really unfair because you'd really be missing out on the insights that he has to offer when he's just doing a normal column.
Yes. Well, what is this normal column that you will lead us through a debunk on? And I already can see the wheels spinning in Matt Christman's mind as he looks at this title. What will it take to beat Donald Trump?
It's not what the progressive left is talking about? What? God, you got me for a loop already.
Ben, you're back. We lost you for a second, but keep going. You're good.
Yep. So here's what he has to say. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama both campaigned for and won the White House on the watchword hope. What watchword will it take for a Democrat to win this time?
Oh, my God.
My suggestion, soap. Nearly 3 years into Donald Trump's presidency. By the way, I just can't not think about the old Simpsons episode where Homer and Marge are walking through a state fair, and I don't even remember what the setup is, but Homer says, "See, Marge, that rhymes, and you know it rhymes."
Wait, can we keep scrolling down let's show the actual page along with Ben. All right, Ben, keep going.
I'm kind of bummed that sexy shot of Trump is gone. I'm reminded of a certain scene from the original Police Academy with George Gaines behind the podium, if anyone remembers. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have.
Nearly 3 years into
Commandant
Donald
Lassard.
Trump's presidency, America needs a hard scrub and a deep cleanse.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to continue this metaphor. It needs to wash out the grime and grease of an administration that every day does something to make the country feel soiled.
No, it makes you fucking nerds feel that way. Nobody else gives a shit.
God. This is such a great debunk for you. All right, let's keep going. Yes.
Which,
Whoa. Now I'm getting mad. Soiled
Now.
by a president who Castro likes? You keep that leader's name out of your bedbug mouth.
How dare you say that about Julian Castro, okay? The finest
He was the most
secretary
woke
we've ever
candidate
had.
on that stage.
Yes.
I heard he
soiled
always
by a
asked somebody's
president who
preferred
Castro liked,
pronoun before he
delivered a
evicted
2-hour
them when he was a
rant
HUD.
at a rally in Michigan the night he was impeached. So far, and by the way, this is good to read this on the night when situation with Iran is further escalating in terrifying ways. That Brett Stevens' big objection to Trump so far is that he gives long speeches and it reminds him of foreigners.
Well, that's because this dangerous maniac who has soiled the entire country, when it's time to do horrifying brinksmanship with the country in the Middle East, that's actually good. That's good when he does that.
So, skipping a few paragraphs down, Pew found that overwhelming majorities of Americans were concerned, 76%, confused, 70%, embarrassed, angry, insulted, etc., etc., etc.
Confused is the most relatable one for me. Because I know half the time when I see Trump say something, I'm not mad. I'm like, what? What could that even possibly mean?
I was not polled because funny was not an option.
Honestly, yes.
So, yeah, would you have said you were confused by the comment about the Air Force pilots being more handsome than Tom Cruise?
Yeah. What was confusing about that?
Equal face, but better bodies. I don't want to give the impression that Tom doesn't have a beautiful face. We all know he does. But these generals, their faces are just as good as his. But I think even Tom would admit the bodies, they're even better.
I don't know what's confusing about that. I thought that was a very clear statement.
Yeah. So,
the numbers should devastate Trump's reelection, but they don't.
Right.
Ben, what's next?
And the reason they don't is because the progressive left is going too far. I'm not going to, go through line by line.
Wait a minute. The J.K. Rowling thing is his evidence of this?
Yeah, it's actually literally his only specific example.
Happened in the United Kingdom.
So he says,
most Americans don't even know where that is. They think J.K. Rowling is a character in Harry Potter.
First,
I'm really confused and angry about what he's saying, but I got to tell you, that wizard lady's stance against trans people is really going to flip my vote. That's what I'm thinking about as a normal Rust Belt voter.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. The key parts of the electorate are deeply emotionally identified with J.K. Rowling, and they cannot stand to see her disrespected.
See, the thing is, that's actually true, but every one of them has been casting a Hogwarts expulsion spell on Trump from every day since he took office.
Right. You know what I love? I just have to say, Ben, I'll let you flow after I say this. I love every single never Trumper or I'm right wing but don't like the Twitter column like this that is coming out now, because it's all the template is, here's how the Democrats are going to fuck it up, and all it is literally personally choreographing why they are going to vote for Trump but still want to protect their oh yeah, but I mean, I'm not so into him brand, and so their whole self-justification becomes a made-up canvas of of an entire country of people they don't interact with.
Now, I got a son. He's deployed overseas right now, and I'm definitely worried that he's going to get involved in some sort of fracas thanks to Trump messing about with those Iranians. But I just what those liberals did to J.K. Rowling. Those books mean a lot to me growing up.
Yeah, I sure am scared about my boy, but at the same time, the liberal terrorism on social media towards the author of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I mean, God damn. I'm going to need to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of intersection in that Venn diagram of people who care a lot about J.K. Rowling and people who might vote for Trump. But he goes through all of J.K. Rowling is his only specific bit of evidence that
All right, can
that's
we keep
it.
scrolling down?
Literally the only piece of evidence that the left has alienated people. But then he going down a couple paragraphs. He says, how to avoid this outcome.
Right.
The most obvious point is not to promise wrenching overhaul of the economy when it shows no signs of needing such an overhaul. Right. So got it right. There's
things look great here from the New York Times headquarters.
Because if one thing is clear from 2016, it's that in electorally important Rust Belt swing states, people think that the economy is fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything. It's fine. Don't, ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
There are plenty of serious risks to our prosperity, including a declining birth rate, national debt, blah, 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 blah.
The erosion. No, I got to just add the erosion of the global free trade consensus.
Oh, no.
Yep.
And let's not forget the popularization of the preposterous economic notion, such as modern monetary theory, which, whatever you think about it, even the Republicans govern as though they believe it exists.
Right.
So it's already happening. They just won't say that's what they're doing.
No, but again, if you think about the states that usually go Democratic, that Hillary Clinton lost 2016, which is what you should think about if you're thinking about, okay, well, how do Democrats win in 2020? How do they get those states back? Well, look, I'm from Michigan. I can tell you, if there's one thing people there are worried, if there are two things people there are worried about, it's they're worried that the global free trade consensus might be eroding because they love that. And they're very concerned about the growth and popularity of modern monetary theory.
I can't even add to this. This is the New York Times. There's more of an editorial process of our podcasts.
Well, we were literally talking over the weekend, and I was saying, I write theoretically an article a week for Jacobin, but once every 3 or 4 weeks, Bhaskar will send one back and be like, yeah, this isn't really working for me. I really want to know if that happens in the New York Times.
Ever.
No, I don't think it does.
There's no way it does. And if it does, I want to find
if it does, what do the rejected ones look like?
Yeah.
I think one time, I think Bill Kristol handed in just one of those hand turkeys. And they rejected that. That's it.
But anyone who thinks
Bill, why is this a transcript from a TV appearance you made 5 years ago with lies that have been debunked in lieu of a column? It's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. Anyone who thinks the blowout government spending, partly financed by an unconstitutional and ineffective wealth tax. Again, he's talking about how they could win, and these are really the concerns of ordinary voters that wealth tax is unconstitutional.
Not my other people's wealth.
Is going to be an electoral winner should look at the fate of Britain's hapless Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, here we go.
And
you aren't fit to wash his vegetarian meals vegetables, you bedbug.
No, he is not. and this is actually worth lingering on for a second, because if you think about it, all right, if you're going to make an argument by analogy, and this is, other than the J.K. Rowling weirdness, this is the closest thing there is to an actual argument in this piece. What I would tell my introductory, critical thinking students is, all right, if you're going to evaluate an analogy, we'll look at, all right, how good an argument is this? Well, what are the relevant points of analogy? What are the relevant disanalogies? Right? What are the relevant things to your point that these things have not in common? And, and it kind of seems I I don't think Brexit is going to be as big a part of the American election.
Wait a second. You're telling me that the same people in the Midwest who aren't gripped by J.K. Rowling are not voting around Brexit?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
And it's also worth, there's been a lot of, Monday night quarterbacking of Corbyn, and I think, whatever, there are legitimate criticisms to be made. But let's also remember that he led the Labour Party in the biggest gains they made since 1945 in the 2017 election, and the economic platform was identical.
Right.
So and Brexit was less salient, and they hadn't changed their position on it.
Yep.
That's literally the thing that was different. And 2 years of nonstop propaganda from the monstrously terrible British media.
And probably also intelligence services.
Of course.
Absolutely. And of course they're trying all the same stuff, right? The accusation of anti-Semitism against a child of Holocaust survivors who'd be the first Jewish president. But scrolling down almost to the bottom because this is just too good not to include.
Guys, final scroll here.
Yeah, we've got in. So the paragraph start with finally because
finally
we've got in Brett's analysis of what's not going to work and why not. Right? You can't erode the global free trade consensus. You can't talk about wealth taxes. You can't be mean to J.K. Rowling. So what is going to work?
He needs to have a clear position on Brexit.
That's right. Yeah. Finally, the winning Democrat will need to make Trump's presidency seem insignificant rather than monumental. An unsightly pimple in our long Republican experiment, not a fatal cancer within it. So who might be able to do this? Good question. Mike Bloomberg has the financial wherewithal to make Trump's wealth seem nearly trivial. Joe Biden has the life experience to make Trump's
That's a word for it.
Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar have the rhetorical skills to turn Trump's taunts against him.
Oh, my God.
When your goal is to wash your hands of something bad, you don't need a sword. Soap will do.
Noted rhetorical word ninja Amy Klobuchar. Remember when the story came out right after she announced about her psychotic behavior towards her staff and the horrifying story of her staff were giving her the salad and they didn't have a fork, so she used a comb?
Yes.
Her funny response to that was, it just needed some dandruff and scalp oil. That was what she said.
It's exact.
And it's like, lady, I'm gonna puke now. You just made me want to vomit. That's not funny. That's disgusting.
Democrats managed to find the only people, like sentient humans on the planet, that can create experiences where Donald Trump is looking out being like, I thought that was pretty weird. And everybody else is just like, yeah, that was really fucking weird. That is literally the only people on earth that can generate that shared experience.
Also, I guess he's just saying, like, pick from this menu. These are the 4 options you have that could work. But I do like the idea that he thinks they could all run simultaneously, like tag in against him. And even if they did, Trump would still destroy them. Can we go up a little bit? I saw something that where he puts out the platform that he thinks the Democrats will win with.
Okay.
One more, a little bit up, a little bit. There it is. What would work? Smart infrastructure spending, new taxes on carbon offset by tax cuts on income and savings, modest increases in taxes on the wealthy, matched by the promise of a balanced budget. That seems vaguely familiar to me. Someone relatively recently ran a presidential campaign with that basically as the playbook. In fact, I think they ran against Trump. Does anyone remember how that went?
Well,
does anyone remember how that exact goddamned platform did against Trump?
Well, be fair, because superficially that sounds similar, but what Brett Stevens is suggesting is that you need soap. In other words, that you make the entire election about character and how Trump is a bad person who says and does bad things. And I don't think Hillary Clinton tried that.
Yeah. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do that idiocy, if you're gonna do that just pure signaling, you got to take a page out of Homer Stokes' from Oh Brother Where Art Thou's playbook, where he went around the state with the broom, and you need to do every single one of your campaign things in a big old-timey barrel, like a rain barrel, shirtless with a big scrub brush, just like scrubbing your back, and there's like bubbles everywhere. And you're like, we're going to clean America up. That's the only way to do that.
I would give $1 to Mike Bloomberg's campaign if he put an ad out like that.
Also, by the way, this is nitpicking, but
this is nitpicking on one of the dumbest people on earth.
His little brilliant platform here is literally gibberish. So you're going to spend more money on infrastructure. You're going to spend more. You're going to get taxes from a carbon tax,
right? Thank you.
That will be offset though with cuts, so it's not going to bring any revenue in. And you're going to slightly raise the taxes on the wealthy, but that's somehow going to balance the budget.
Which, well, this is the part he's clever enough to not
getting rid of Social Security.
The other side of it, which is phasing out Medicare and Social Security.
Yes.
And by the way, I just also want to say to people, just as a parenthetical here, but not too much of a tangent, but. There's this new like big thing, and I get why people do it, where people love to dunk on Joe Biden every time he like wheels his carcass out to say that like when Trump is gone, Republicans will be reasonable. This is the wrong approach, because what he's actually saying is 100% true, which is that when Trump is gone, Mitch McConnell will maybe, and almost certainly not, but I'm being generous to Biden here, might vaguely say like, I look forward to a new era of politeness. And then they will sit down and they will slash Medicare and Social Security, which is what Biden put on the table in 2010.
Yes.
And by the way, the only reason that didn't happen
Tea Party
is because
psychopaths.
the Tea Party were just like, Obama didn't offer to renounce his citizenship and apologize for being black. We reject the cuts. That's the only reason.
Because the cuts involved some rate hikes in taxes, and that was
we're talking like literally one of the proposals was actually a private jet tax. Like you are talking the most bullshit nothing. So this means 2% increase on oligarchs in response to phasing out Medicare and Social Security, which Joe Biden will try to do.
Absolutely. Our only hope is if that happens is that the guys in Congress are still psycho enough to not take yes for an answer, although who knows at this point.
Well, we better hope that Biden picks a woman of color as vice president.
What did they say?
If he doesn't, they won't be.
40% of the GOP House has turned over since Trump got elected?
Yeah.
So who the hell knows what these mutants are on about?
They went trawling used car lots across. They were like, hey, like where do you think Obama was born? Actually, he was really born in Tanzania. You're running for Congress.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And these are people who won in like Republican primaries where you had to prove that you were the Trumpiest person there.
Yes, absolutely. So anyways, I'll say this as somebody who I always say, I will recommend voting in such a manner that you get rid of Donald Trump as president, because I'm thinking, beyond myself here. But like, as far as like big picture trends and reality, it isn't Bernie or bust. It is Bernie or we are fucked.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not because
it's Bernie or bust. It's not because we'll take our ball and go home. It's because we have foreclosed our last off ramp from fucking apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, honestly, and I will unashamedly stand for like the only sign of like an exit from what we're on. It's like this.
I mean, for those of us young enough to remember 2004, which was the last time we had a terrible Republican president doing terrible stuff, and everyone feeling like the most important thing in the world was to get him out of there. Like the options on offer during that election were honestly just look at Howard Dean. Right now, he has revealed himself to be just one of the most disgusting slugs Washington, D.C. has to offer. And he was the radical firebrand of the race. He was too far left to be viable at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember when John Edwards was what passed for a populist?
Yeah. Yeah, against Hillary and Obama, yeah.
Yeah. So this is my video photographer. And, but actually, I 2004, I was so weird in that election because I kind of bought in to a certain extent to like Howard Dean's not going to be president. Like, let's be serious. No way this guy's going to win. And then at the same time, also like, this guy's not real. Like, fuck him. So I voted for Dennis Kucinich. I was like 60 Kucinich, 40 Kerry, and no room for Dean in my split personality. But it's been a big relief because he's gone on to become an MEK pharma lobbyist. Yeah. So I feel totally comfortable in not being super excited about his run.
No, that's the thing. It's like things are worse than ever, but we actually have a choice for the first time.
Yeah. Ben Burgis, Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left, awesome book. Check out his Patreon page. Check out his articles in the Jacobin, including some ones we've co-written, which I'm very happy about. Always awesome doing stuff with you, Ben. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man. Let's do the bad. Let's do a little Bloomberg. Well, we're going to do Bloomberg on assassination, and then we'll do his Judge Judy announcement. And then maybe, Matt, can you get into the Discord and check out some questions? But first, let's do the we have the bad opening package.
But it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good. No good, really bad for you. But it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
Does he not know what the word, is that not in his vocabulary?
Oh, wait, do we have actually handy the Richard Wolff test? Could we do that with Matt? The other Trump sound clip, and then he could guess what Trump is talking about. Oh, yeah. I'd like to do this. Matt, could you indulge me?
Give it to me.
All right, I'd like to see.
The game here is to determine what Trump is talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, what is Trump talking about here?
Bringing the jobs back, I'm just going to assume.
Possible.
Bad deal. Should have never been thought of.
All right.
There's one.
There's one. This, by the way, this is all the same thing. So you only have one thing to guess. All right, go.
And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint, where they thought about it.
And then here's 3.
And they had the worst cover-up ever.
Worst cover-up ever.
And it should have been stopped.
It should have been stopped
from the standpoint of the deal.
From the standpoint of the deal, it should have been stopped. Is it the Iran deal?
No. One more guess.
The Paris Accords?
The murder and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi.
Bad deal. It was a bad deal. It was certainly a bad deal for Jamal Khashoggi. I think we can all agree.
And it should have started.
All right. Here's the first pitch. Here's our first offer. We cut your head off, and we put you in a suitcase. I'm gonna have to say no to that one.
Wait, now that you
never take the first offer, Jamal.
Never take the first offer. Don't take the come to our embassy to change your wedding status. Yeah. Wait. Can you play all 3 for him again so you can hear in these 3 clips which part that he's saying is he the most actually clear and definitive about? Like, in the sense of being the most personally offended by.
Right.
Here we go in order.
All right.
Bad deal. Should have never been thought of. And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint, where they thought about it.
All right, ads.
And they had the worst cover-up ever.
Obviously, he's mad that they fucked up the cover-up.
Really the worst cover-up ever.
What are you doing? You're in Turkey. You don't think that they have your place bugged?
Erdogan's a smart guy. Look, he knows body doubles.
Erdogan, they like the Muslim Brotherhood. You guys, you don't like the Muslim Brotherhood. Of course they got your stuff tapped. Why wouldn't they? They're not your friends.
There's a family called the Bonanno family. Knew how to do cover-ups. Friends with dad.
Honestly, that was pretty stupid. I mean,
it was a bad.
It's like Turkey is not in any way. They're not like, oh, they're cool.
No. That's not a cool place to abduct, mutilate while he's alive, and dismember in a suitcase in a diplomat's garden, a world famous journalist. No, Turkey's, unless it would be a Kurdish journalist done by the Turkish government.
Then they'd be like, whatever.
They'd be like, well done. Yeah. Well, Mike Bloomberg is a lot like Donald Trump, except he provides a different sort of entertainment. What I love about Bloomberg, honestly, is he is just, look, when he is the mayor of the city, terrifying the working people of the city and people of color and destroying, Occupy like the Gestapo, it's not so funny. But just as a billionaire wasting his money, although he's obviously going to run third party. We'll see how that plays out. But I think basically just wasting his money. His irritated, entitled bitchiness is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. He's just he's a guy you could imagine if he didn't have $50 billion getting viral from somebody filming him at a bagel stop or something, getting mad at the cashier.
Oh, my God. That's the I did say cinnamon. Here is Mike Bloomberg getting huffy and bitchy about Bernie Sanders calling something what it is, namely the assassination of General Soleimani.
Morning, Senator Sanders classified the killing of Soleimani as an assassination. Is that a terminology that you would agree with?
I don't know in the context that he said it, who he was talking about, but I think it's probably inappropriate. If he was talking about killing the general, was that what he was talking about? This is a guy who had an awful lot of...
I'm sorry to do a Sam Cedar here, but I don't think he knows who he's talking about.
The general.
Speaking of like Mr. Competence.
I'm sorry, but he provides low-cost auto insurance to people all across this country, and I'm a very good friend of the general. Yeah, honestly, give me Bloomberg and Trump debating just to argue about who's better friends with the general. Me and Shaq, we played horse. It was me, the general, and Shaq. Shaq picked me up and had me do the slam dunk.
The general made fun of how short you were. Well, the general and I were in Barbados together talking about how you attacked me.
We laughed about how long your ties are.
Is that what he was talking about? This is a guy who had an awful lot of American blood on his hands. I think that's an outrageous
How about
thing
you?
to say.
What do you got, dude?
Nobody that I know of would think that we did something wrong in getting the general. The question is, what did we do afterwards? But not that this guy was an enemy of America who's killed Americans, and we have a right and an obligation, I think, to go after him, and we did.
What is the proper way to speak about his death?
What is the proper verbiage?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, get a dictionary and take your pick. The guy killed a bunch of Americans, and we're going to worry about the language? I don't think so.
I mean, I'm actually kind of with Bloomberg there because that's a stupid fucking question.
That's true.
It just shows you just how ill-equipped the press is to deal with any actual stories of any significance. Especially the political press, of course, more than anyone, because they're just absolute downer cattle in the journalism world, where their job is to just stand there and listen and say, well, he said that thing. So when you've got a situation like this and you have to like create a political story around it, it's like, well, he said assassination. I don't know about that word. What word would you use? If General Soleimani were a tree, what kind of tree do you think he would be?
Well, certainly not an oak tree.
Now, not a mighty oak. Not a mighty and majestic oak tree.
Which I've done so much with my money to protect.
One of those trees where you're walking past it and you don't realize it's got those low-hanging branches and one hits you in the head.
That's who he was, because he hurt a lot of Americans. And I'm so sick of this shit. He was a paramilitary leader.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was literally there.
Do.
He was in Iraq at the invitation of the government in a diplomatic fucking passport.
Oh yeah,
and he got killed.
By the way, this latest trip is because the Saudis finally were like, I guess Trump isn't going to do this. I guess we need to have a back channel. And then the back channel arrives and Trump's like, actually, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's breathtaking.
It's the opposite of saving anything. It's only making things more dangerous and horrible.
We'll get to this stuff in a second, but staying on Mike Bloomberg for a second. Do we have this very important endorsement that he received?
I'm sorry, which?
Judge Judy. So this is. Have you heard about this?
I honestly, I was bummed because I heard it and I'm like, I had a little Lyndon Johnson moment. I'm like, if we've lost Judge Judy, we've lost all the daytime television watching Americans, and that's a big percentage. So we're in trouble.
So other than the fact that this is funny and it's Judge Judy and blah, 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 isn't this on some level like his version of being like, I can relate to the slobs?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you pigs, you like to watch that show you like to watch? That show you like to watch while you're waiting for your disability check? The show where all the commercials are for liquidating your lawsuit settlement payments. The ones you got against me.
So you're at the hospital and they're taking your form, and of course you don't have proper insurance because you're a slob who's been drinking colas. And then your favorite judge comes on. Well, guess what, you ignorant ingrates? She supports me.
I'm Judge Judy Scheinlin, and I'm a pretty good judge of character. Mike Bloomberg will be a
Wait, rewind to the beginning.
He's a job creator.
I think Bloomberg starts it, right? No. Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm Judge Judy Scheinlin, and I'm a pretty good judge of character. Mike Bloomberg will be a great president. He's a job creator, a manager, an innovative mayor, and an impactful philanthropist. He'll unite and lead the country. Case closed.
I am a fan of of how they have to work to make every picture of Bloomberg. You can't have anyone else in the frame to indicate his actual height. So it's like standing alone in a room. No one. It's like, wow, look how tall those buildings are. He might be that big. He's huge.
It's like right before this, he had just like terrorized a waiter.
Yeah.
Been like, oh, the new EP at Condé Nast has a fantastic ass. Oh, we'll look seriously out of the window for 5 seconds. No problem.
And then it's him sitting down with other people, like everyone's sitting, and then it's everyone's sitting. He's taller. He's at least as tall as everybody.
At least he's eye level.
And then himself on a stage, presumably everyone else far below him. That's got to be tough because he spent $500 million already on TV ads. So I'm sure there's a lot of different images they need, and they have to just scroll through every one to remove anyone taller than him.
Michael, do you believe that this has the potential to become World War? Iran will likely target the UAE for assisting the U.S. tonight.
That's what they're saying.
Well, wait. All right, so I need an update with what's going on. What's going on?
Well, what I was just looking at, and who knows, is that there were planes leaving, U.S. planes leaving the UAE, and Iran put UAE on blast and said, if we're attacked from the UAE, we're going to attack the UAE. Which, honestly, reasonable. You're a staging ground for this imperial force to fucking blow your shit up. So that's what they're saying. And I also saw, once again, have no idea if it's true or not, that Iranian fighter jets have been scrambled and are flying. So I don't know where or for what reason, defensive or offensive, who knows?
Yeah, I haven't heard, just from what I've been able to see, I don't know how much truth there is. I mean, that could definitely be happening.
I have no idea.
It's sort of
You're seeing everything now.
What I have heard is that people in Abadan, which is a very important refinery area in Iran, all those workers have been asked to take shelter. Right. Because there's out of, the threat of potential airstrikes. But still, we don't know. I mean, this is still
I would just say this is horrible and we're contextualizing it as best we can. But this is also an environment where everything from intelligence agencies planting misinformation intentionally to just honest mistakes in reporting, it's really bad. I think if you want a theoretical basis for understanding it, we're not in a world war, but certainly the whole story of the last couple of decades that the Middle East is at war, primarily because of the machinations of the United States, but also Israel, also Saudi, and also Iran. So this, which has never been resolved, is escalating because this fucking idiot did it.
I don't know who said this. I wish I could credit them, but I read it yesterday, and I remember it striking me as a very interesting way of putting this. People talking about World War III, and their argument is that we think of World War, we think when we imagine what World War III would be, we imagine either thermonuclear annihilation or some sort of multi-theater, large-scale combat. And what they're saying that they pointed out is maybe a nuclear war could happen, nuclear exchange, but that kind of large conflict that World War II is in people's mind, that's not going to happen probably ever again. And if you really look at it in terms of, all right, well, what is the U.S. military? Where is it? What is it doing? You could argue that we've been in a world war since since 9/11. Yep. This is World War III. It's just low intensity. Yes. It's technological, but it has the hallmarks. Anyone, in it, from a historical vantage, it would fit anyone's definition for a world war.
We are bombing people in Somalia, Pakistan, Yemen. There's all these other proxy efforts and civil wars, Syria. I mean, yes, I think that that's 100% right. And frankly, I mean, look, it's on a different tip, but not just from the perspective of U.S. hegemony, but like the way we handle our role in militarizing the drug war in Mexico,
yes,
you absolutely could call a form of low-intensity warfare. So, yeah, I think that that is a fair description. I mean, look, empire maintenance by definition is war making.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way of like, because even I always use this line. It's the only thing that Thomas Friedman said with any worth of posterity. He said, and I always butcher it, but the paraphrase is, you don't have the golden arches without the plains of McDonnell Douglas. He wrote that in the 90s. And that was the height of pretending that we all were just building McDonald's and no two countries with McDonald's ever had wars. He still said that in that era.
Which is, of course, now been, that's not true. Georgia, Russia.
Right.
2004 or 2008.
So I would just say, like, as for purposes of like the anxiety and rage that people absolutely feel right now, it is very, look, if you're going to engage in social media about this stuff, then keep, to the extent you have any type of people listening to you, and everybody does to some extent, debunk this propaganda, share articles that, you know, correct the record on like what happened with the deal. It's worth looking back, and this is exactly the type of time that people should be reading about what we did to Iran in 1953, or the Shah, or you know, this type of thing. Protest, that's great. There's a Sanders-Khanna bill that is about defunding this. You absolutely should call all of these idiots and demand they support it.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's horrible. It's definitionally disempowering, but like on the other hand, as much as I see these comments, I understand where they're coming from. And I'm not saying this question is the same thing at all, but like somebody wrote in a recent video, like, well, you know, I mean, we would never let socialism happen overseas. So of course, like Bernie's going to be stopped. And my honest, you know, my question is like, what is your, like, if you had an actual blueprint for an alternative means of seizing power, I might be willing to listen to what you're saying. But if you're just leaving a comment that is zero upside other than disempowerment, I can't, like, okay.
Well, while we have a path, while we have the off-ramp, we've got to steer towards it as hard as we can.
Exactly.
And then, like, yeah, stuff like that, and like fixating on the idea that this is going to be some sort of like apocalyptic confrontation, it really serves to sort of give you the salve of, well, there's nothing to do about it. I can just hang out and watch the world die, as Everclear sang in their classic hit Santa Monica.
And because the truth is like what's very likely is that this will not be some type of apocalyptic global conflict. What it will be is it will hammer and destroy a ton of innocent Iraqis and Iranians, potentially innocent Emiratis if they're in it. It will, you know, and then yes, will it spill out? Yes, there could be a whole different migration crisis going into Europe, which has already been a humanitarian crisis. And what Europe does in the Mediterranean Sea is one of the great crimes of the modern era. And it's also been a major reason that neo-fascist parties are rising in Europe. So like, yes, it will create a world of horrible and totally preventable things.
But it's just going to be
but we have to fight against it.
And the thing is, I think people crave, subconsciously, they crave that annihilation, because at least we talk about this on our show all the time, just the sense of stasis, the sense of stalemate, the sense everything is being the same but getting worse every day, the idea that nothing can change. And the idea of a nuclear exchange, as horrible as it is, at least it promises rupture. It promises change. It means tomorrow's not going to be like today. And the thing is, sorry, that's not going to be it. It's just going to be every terrible trend happening now ratcheted up and made worse. That's it.
It's a cliche, but I mean, Children of Men, guys. Like that really was the on-point dystopian movie.
Yes.
Because you look at most of the things in that movie, like even down to the fact that some of the tech is way better.
Yeah.
But everything else is shittier.
Yep. No, that movie was, I remember when I saw that movie, I was shaken. Yeah. I was like, I fucking wept in the theater, feeling like I had seen where we were heading. And now I look back and it's like, yeah, that was a moment of like deep prophecy.
Absolutely. So, I mean, and at the same time, there still is enough space to actually fight.
There's a
stuff.
pregnant baby. There's a pregnant woman out there, and her name is Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Just imagine that scene where he goes into the horse stable,
Yes.
and it's Bernie with a big, beautiful 8-month-out gut. It's like there's glowing. Just imagine that.
And we're all various types of Clive Owen.
Yeah, we've got to get him to the
we're
boat.
Getting him to the boat.
We're getting to the boat.
And we're in our flip-flops.
Yes.
We're doing our fucking best. I want to play these 2 clips. These are really important. We only have a few minutes, but I'll take another Discord question and play these 2 clips. But this is actually the type of content that needs to be spread. Not because of some, whatever. We'll have a more complicated analysis of Hezbollah and Iran the other day. Your patrons, we've actually done long histories of everything from U.S. intervention to a 2-part. We did a 2-part history on Hezbollah, which you can look up and listen to for the Illicit History series. But the reality is that for quite some time, and I'll just say in 30 seconds, when you have this rise of Shia and Sunni Islamic politics in the late 70s and 80s, and I'm simplifying, and there's a huge amount of difference and distinction inside this. But a simple division, you could say, is that there was a U.S., Saudi, Pakistani axis, which was feeding the Mujahideen, which is feeding the ideology as well as the tactics. There's an anecdote in Ghost Wars by Steve Cole where the ISI and the CIA want to do an operation to blow up some bridge, which is an important supply route for the Soviets. And they're having trouble finding Afghans to do it because they think essentially it would practically be a suicide mission. They think that that's bad from a religious standpoint. So look at the politics that we fed there, just even in that level as a tactic. In the Iranian Hezbollah Shia politics of resistance, it's conservative, it has reactionary streaks, but it is rooted in real terrestrial politics with real serious objections to imperialism and colonialism. And that also means that they have, at least for several years now, and I think going back much further, objected partially just tactically to the types of attacks that groups like ISIS or Al-Qaeda will pull out. Nasrallah criticized the attacks in France several years ago. And in fact, in Syria, and certainly Iran has been involved in crimes in Aleppo and everything else. No question. Don't be an idiot. On the other hand, Iranian forces and Hezbollah forces have actually saved Christian and Yazidi families from the genocidal intentions of ISIS. So the comments you're going to see here from Nasrallah and the supreme leader are accurate. They are believable and correct comments, and they fit inside a political context that is coming from these people. And everybody should be going out and seeing it because the United States is on a course of action that will discard potentially hundreds of thousands of Iranian lives. This is Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, first. I might have to read this. What we were talking about, and of course I don't mean all the American people. I hope here is extreme clarity. We don't mean the American people. We don't mean American citizens. All across the region there are American citizens. Traders, media people, journalists, companies, engineers, and doctors. They cannot be touched. In fact, I'm saying that any harm coming to U.S. citizens and civilians anywhere will only serve Trump's agenda. Will only serve Trump's agenda. That's 100% right.
And if you look at the history, the record of Hezbollah, it's hard to argue with it. There are basically no examples of Hezbollah using like civilian-focused terror attacks.
No.
Definitely not against the United States.
No, it's not. And to these things that the United States, again, I got to be really clear here that we would object to and we don't want to see happen are in the context of, if you kidnap a CIA agent, if you attack a barracks, it's fucking terrible. Tons of young people lost their lives in the attacked barracks fighting for the same thing we've been talking about, U.S. empire overseas, U.S. interest overseas. It's horrible that happens, but that is a military target. It's, that is a order of magnitude difference than trying to go and blow up a daycare or shoot up a synagogue or, without discretion, level an entire city. We have to make these. I mean, these are the distinctions in the Geneva Conventions, frankly. They're not my distinctions. Here's the supreme leader. The U.S. authorities complain and ask why Iranians say death to America. Let us make something clear for U.S. leaders. Death to America means death to Trump, John Bolton, and Mike Pompeo. It means death to American rulers. They have no problems. We have no problems with the American people. Death to America is about the rulers of America.
I mean, he says that, but let's not forget when Iran shot down that American civilian airliner. Wait a minute. No. That was the other way around. We did that, and then the president, or the guy running for president, said, I will not apologize for America after killing a plane load of civilians.
A jet.
Yes. Just a literal civilian aircraft just shot out of the sky, and then we said tough shit.
Yeah. You're flying.
Because George H.W. Bush can't look weak because he was the wimp.
He had to overcome the wimp factor.
Yeah.
And part of how he overcame the wimp factor, by the way, I just want to say, it was totally unfair. The guy ran and covered up international drugs for arms.
Yeah, seriously. He was.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Like you got like some trap kid with a Pablo Escobar on the wall. Put George H.W. Bush on the wall, too. He was moving weight.
He was a wimp. He illegally facilitated arms sales to Iran to fund death squads in Nicaragua. Can you give him a little fucking credit?
Yeah.
And then presided over a massive cover-up, which, by the way, concluded also in just like not even a cover-up, just like I'm president, I'm pardoning criminals.
Last day on office.
Yeah.
Everybody's free.
Everybody's cool.
Yep.
My drunk son will see you later. One of the criticisms I've been hearing from the left about Bernie's new Green New Deal proposal is that it doesn't include the input of leaders in the global South. Capitalism has impacted that region the most, so it makes sense to include those voices. Your thoughts? Well, I will say, first of all, real quick, his Green New Deal does have actually a really big global dimension, including tech transfers, which is huge. If you talk to anybody outside of the United States with left politics, they are begging us to elect Bernie Sanders. So to me, it sounds like a fine and valid critique and whatever. Certainly in an actual diplomatic process,
right?
Yes.
He's not president. What's he going to do?
Yeah, as a campaign, to me.
And also, I will say this: that's one of the things that really triggers me about Warren. That like I could, because a lot of people say, "Oh, it's all like these differences are sort of, about affect or whatever." Bullshit. But when she talks about the New Deal and she talks about that kind of stuff, she always says, "We're going to lead. We're gonna beat everybody in the war." It's like then then everybody else, if they're losing the battle with America over green technology, then they're just going to be like, "All right, I guess we'll use the gas and the oil because that's what we have." Like if it's a competition, it's the same result's going to happen regardless of whether we decarbonize.
Well, that also goes to I'm a capitalist in my bones. It's the belief in the magic of innovation.
Yeah.
Also, just so we have all the facts on the table too, Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal does actually propose giving around $2 billion in funding to the global South to help them transition their economies. So
it's funny watching people like that. It's like, I got to have something to say to sound critical because I spent my entire life like badgering establishment politics from the left. And of course, there's much to be, desired. But this really is a unique, it can't be pointed out. This is a unique candidate at a unique moment and a unique platform. It really is like nothing you've ever seen before. And people want to like find a critique. It's like, look at that. It's in there. The thing you wanted in there is in there because he's actually thought this through. He actually has the people behind him who have done all the thinking in the wilderness for all these years while they've been strip mining the world through neoliberalism. This is the moment. This is the movement. It's it.
That's it. There's and it will always measure up as less than whatever your fantasy.
And the thing is that what's going to make it happen once he gets in, it's going to be us that's going to make it happen or not. It's not going to be up to him. And I think a lot of this comes down to people having that expectation of, well, I'm going to keep him honest. It's like, well, what does that mean? You're going to vote for him and then you're going to do what people did under Obama, which was what Obama wanted them to do, which is go home and watch the show. Right. Well, you're not going to be able to do that. If Bernie gets in there, that's when it starts. starts. Right. So that means if there's a failure at Bernie, it's not because, he got in there and he turned his back on us. Yes, this 80-year-old man is waiting. This is all the long con to get in the White House. So he gets
finally, and then after 4 years, I can do Toastmasters.
Yeah, I get those embossed candies that say Commander-in-Chief on them.
Right.
I mean, it's doing this because this is the chance we have. And if it's going to happen, it's going to be whether or not we put our fucking shoulders into it when the time comes.
1,000.
Wait, just real quick.
That's so important.
I made a mistake with the numbers.
Yeah.
I said $2 billion. It's actually 200.
It's 200 billion.
It's 200 billion.
200 billion.
It's 200 billion. And so, right. I mean, that's the thing. It was like when we had Ryan Grimm on and we had that great conversation and the debate about Warren and Sanders. And it's like at one point, and of course, obviously, I mean, for every reason imaginable, I support Bernie, right? But him calling for freeing Lula is a big fucking deal. And everybody knows, who watches and listens to this, why it is and how important it is. And, as Ryan Grimm pointed out, he was like, Bernie probably knew who Lula was in the 80s.
Yes.
When Lula was a labor union organizer overthrowing a military dictatorship. Like Bernie was reading about him at the Brattleboro Food Co-op. This is unique. Yeah. It does, and it's the actual savvy, shrewd thing to do right now is positively and enthusiastically and relentlessly back the fuck out of Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
That's the clever move.
People are uncomfortable with it. I was uncomfortable with it for a while because it's like you're define yourself as to the left, on the left. That means you don't want to be a suckered into this sham democracy, which, of course it is. Right. But you have to be able to recognize, conditions on the ground. You have to recognize what's in front of your face. You can't just go with what has the rote reactions that you've been conditioned to have to politics this your whole life, because you have to be able to recognize a moment of disjunction, which is what this is. And
that's the great everlasting harm of Obama.
Yeah. Oh, God. The villain of the 21st century, I really think.
Wow.
Because it's like Bush, yes, terrible. But when you think of what happened in 2008 with that collapse of the economy, with that sweeping mandate, and then going in there with the intention, on purpose, he didn't get buffaloed, the intention of dismantling the entire movement that got him in there and recapitalizing all of the bad actors who caused the economy to crash, it just killed it. It just killed everything. And we're just trying to build out of the rubble of that. And if we get out of it, it's going to be in spite of that. And if we don't, honestly, it's going to be because of that.
That could have been the inflection point.
I really do feel like Obama, one of maybe the worst single actor of the 21st century. Really, just thumbs down on that guy. Barf Sacco Crumbo, that guy in Free Republic who's called him that. Yeah, correct. He is Barf Sacco Crumbo.
And so Bernie Sanders, whatever else you say about the man, is not going to dissemble. He will go to his grave fighting for this shit.
Yes.
And that's an unparalleled opportunity.
Absolutely.
Matt Christman, this is amazing. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. It's fun.
Tons of fun. Sorry, guys, obviously. I mean, look, I will do some more, live streams, whatever, and obviously on Twitter I'll keep trying to point you into the different ways of following this in a smart way.
You're doing news on a live stream now, I saw.
Yeah, I try to do, for stuff like this that I have a touch of a sense of, I try to give some context for. But look, stay engaged. I think that is exactly, and we really got to go, but that really also reminds me of this capitalist realist stuff that we always talk about, right? And the idea that your imagination is totally crushed by this capitalist realist context. And the only place it can go is in some big idea of a rupture or cleanse or secular apocalypse or salvation. And it ain't, first of all, it's very unlikely to happen if you're listening to or watching this. The people it is happening for don't have the luxury or agency to even speculate because they are getting murdered by a predator drone. Their home is being flooded. The rest of us are just in that steady degradation, and we have an obligation to struggle out of it if we can. Listen to Matt at Cushbomb on Twitter. If you haven't already, I'm sure many of you have, but maybe some of you haven't. Definitely check out Chapo Trap House. Check out all of Matt's individual work. He writes articles and does streams from time to time as well. It's all just, it's really funny and great. But I like the history. I'm a history guy. And Matt thinks historically, which I just really, really appreciate. So I appreciate everybody who makes all of this possible, as always. Regular Sunday show coming out. Stuff will be planned for next week. I'll let everybody know what's happening soon, but I'm not on vacation. This is a work assignment, and you will know about it soon. I'm extremely excited about it. See you guys soon.